The OPM retirement backlog has spiked to unusually high levels this summer. What's driving that? And what are the latest figures? Let's take a look. Hey there, I'm Ian Smith with fedsmith.com, and I was going to discuss the OPM retirement backlog with you today. OPM just released its latest retirement processing statistics figures. So to start out, the figures for July just came out. There were 8,295 new retirement claims from federal employees that came in. OPM processed 8,485 of them, and the total inventory, that's the outstanding backlog, is now 26,138. And that's actually down just a little bit from the peak so far this year in June, which was 26,328. So it's down 0.72% from the prior month. The average processing time in July was 59 days, and that's actually up from 45 days in June. So processing was a little bit slower in July. There was a bit of a dip in June, as I said, compared to the prior months. A lot of new retirement claims came in, but it's a little bit more in line with historical figures. And I'll explain that now. If you look at 2025, July 2025 versus previous years, it gives you a little bit of a better picture. So looking at July for the last 5 years, this table paints a picture for you. Again, there were 8,295 claims that came in 2025. And that's a lot, but as you can see, it's more in line with historical numbers. The only one that was higher was in 2022, 9,487. And the processing was quite a bit higher compared to the last 5 years. Again, 2022 was an exception, but you also can see the backlog was higher in 2022 than it is now even. The situation with the backlog this year, though, is that it has shot up quite a bit from where it was a year ago. And that's ultimately not good for federal employees who are looking to retire soon, just because that can slow the process down for them. If you look also at this summer, kind of the big picture there, you'll see that, as I mentioned, there has been a big surge this summer in the number of incoming retirement claims. And I'll show you some more figures here that paints that picture as well. It began in May. May this year, there were 15,048 incoming retirement claims. June, there were still a lot, 13,430. And if you look at this table, you see where that spike really started. To OPM's credit, they have been processing a lot of these incoming claims. In May, over 9,000 were processed. The backlog was at a little over 21,000 in May. It really shot up in June, though. The processing went down, and the number of claims stayed pretty high, so that pushed the backlog up to over 26,000. If you look at this next table, you get an even clearer picture of the situation. Like, again, I said, 2025 has been an anomaly, and this table really tells the story. Looking back to 2021, there's no comparison. You see May well over the recent years in comparison, 15,048. The next highest was 2021 at just over 7,600. June, same kind of thing. And as I said, in July, it kind of stabilized a little bit more. July is apparently a more popular time for federal employees to retire compared to May and June, at least, for going back the previous 5 years based on these figures. So what's driving this unusual summer surge in the retirement claims? I think it's the downsizing efforts by the Trump administration. As soon as he came into office, President Trump started making good on his campaign promise to try to shrink the size of the federal government. And we're starting to see in these numbers the results of that. The deferred resignation program, federal employees watching this channel undoubtedly will remember that almost from day one. That was announced. They put the offer on the table. Hey, you can resign and we'll pay you your pay and benefits through the remainder of the fiscal year. According to OPM, over 154,000 federal employees resigned under the deferred resignation program. And OPM's new director, Scott Cooper, said recently that he expects this number to double in the near future. He was on Fox Business when he made that statement. Also, we've had VISPs and VERAs, that's Voluntary Early Retirement Authority and Voluntary Separation Incentive Payments. Those have been going on. There have been RIFs going on. So add it all together, and it's pushing up the number of federal employees leaving the government. I think also at the end of the fiscal year, you're going to see those numbers go up even more. Now, something else related to retirement for federal employees, tying into all this as well, is that OPM has launched a new digital retirement processing system this year. It's called the Online Retirement Application, or ORA for short. It launched in May, and OPM stopped accepting paper retirement applications on July 15th. So any new retirements that come in, any new submissions, all have to be digital and go through this ORA system. The goal is to streamline the retirement processing, reduce delays. OPM's director, Scott Cooper, said recently, quote, "The team at OPM have been working tirelessly to take the federal retirement system digital. Success will be for nearly all federal employees to self-retire in a matter of seconds, as opposed to the antiquated process that can take several months, if not years, to complete." And it's interesting he mentions the time frames on the current process. Comments we've seen from some of our readers and viewers indicate that they have indeed had to wait years, in some cases, under the old system to have their retirements fully processed by OPM. I'd say that's definitely the exception rather than the rule. According to OPM, it typically will take 3 to 5 months, based on their current estimates, to process a federal employee's retirement application, but it has happened. And the problem with these delays from a federal employee standpoint is that it means they have to wait longer to get their full annuity payments. When the retirement application process begins, federal employees get an interim annuity payment. And according to OPM, that's 60 to 80% of the full annuity payment. Again, the process typically takes 3 to 5 months before that full annuity kicks in once the retirement application is fully processed. But as you can imagine, if this were to go on for over a year and you were planning on having one amount and you're getting 60% of that amount, that can be tough. So it's certainly in federal employees' best interest to have the process expedited, and that's what this new system is intended to do. With respect to these interim annuity payments, according to OPM, they exclude deductions for health benefits, life insurance, dental, vision, and long-term care. In other words, those things are not deducted from the interim annuity payment. The only deduction that does come out of it is for federal tax. State tax is also excluded. Now, one challenge with developing and launching this new digital retirement system is with respect to digitizing all these millions of records. OPM's focus has been on the new retirement applications coming in. They're not even looking at this point or worried at this point about the existing paper records that are all out there, that are sitting in the mine up in Boyers, Pennsylvania. There's a man by the name of Al Himmler. He's the former chief technology officer at the Office of Personnel Management, and before he left recently for a private sector position, he had worked on this new digital retirement processing system. And he wrote a blog post about it recently, and he was describing some of the challenges they were facing. He wrote, "Considering that in an average year, about 100,000 people retire from federal service annually, that volume of paper becomes a logistical ball and chain that must be managed to respond to annuitant needs. How could OPM best do so? The most insightful answer from one of my retirement services partners was to focus on the incoming materials as the higher priority and as quickly as possible automate the processes to efficiently handle new paper coming in the door. Sounds deceptively simple, but paper comes in from different directions. People planning to retire, payroll centers, people who have retired, people claiming to be a survivor needing to be verified, and so on. Digitizing all the inputs simultaneously and on a constrained budget was a challenge, but we made incremental progress. For example, we were able to automate the process of accepting retirement packages for a single payroll provider and a small handful of agencies. Beyond accelerating the receipt of error-free applications, the project also demonstrated our ability to define digital interfaces with other agencies so that we could receive retirement applications and the payroll data required for annuity calculations. The plan for the remainder of fiscal year 2025 was to add a second payroll provider, there are a total of 5, and begin to accept retirement applications from another set of agencies. This project provided the first implementation where retirement services digital processing replaced paper processing. So that just gives you a glimpse into what OPM was facing with developing this system. It's easy to criticize them and say, hey, why haven't you developed a digital system? This is the 21st century. This should have been done years ago, but it is a very complex process as he lays out. That gives you a basic overview of the latest situation with OPM's retirement processing and the number of federal employees that have retired over the summer. Like I said, there has been an unusual spike. And as I laid out, I think it's all of the ongoing downsizing efforts that have caused this, which isn't a big surprise. I expect the numbers to be even higher at the end of the fiscal year since the deferred resignation program was set to run through the end of the fiscal year. Presumably starting October 1st, you'll have even more federal employees retiring from under that program. So the future reports will reflect that, and it'll be interesting to see how those numbers compare to past years if there is indeed a really big spike. We won't see that though until probably the October, November reports, I'm guessing, when they come out. But I'll continue to keep you updated, so be sure to subscribe to the channel and stay tuned to FedSmith for more updates. Be sure to also visit our website, fedsmith.com. We've got a number of articles on this topic as well. Have a good day.